KZ fam, I'm back with another video. So guys, this is what's gonna happen, man. I'm gonna be rolling out a bunch of like episodes. We're gonna be starting off with Lean Click. I want to finish Lean Click on this on the channel. So we're gonna be rolling out those episodes, and then after Lean Click, I think it's gonna be all the Blue Lock episodes or Bleach. Let me know which one y'all want next, but it's either gonna be Bleach or Blue Lock. Bleach from Core 3, of course, and then Blue Lock, season 2. And then after that, probably gonna be Dragon Ball Daima, Kaiju number 8. I don't know. We're gonna be rolling a bunch of episodes. I'm telling y'all, bro. I'm telling y'all this year's gonna be crazy. But anyways, we're gonna be watching this video right here. Solo Leveling Season 2, Episode 1, cut content. How the Red Gate really happened. You know what I'm saying? Let's check this out. Thank you guys so much for all your support on the channel, by the way. Let me know if y'all like the new lighting. I'm finna get some posters, bro. That ass. We have to have a Zoro up here or like, let me know what y'all want, bro. We gotta have like Zoro or Goku, Vegeta. I don't know, bro. I gotta figure this out because, hey, it's an empty wall, bro. We gotta make this shit look nice. But anyways, KZ fam, let's go.
Season 2 opens with all the glorious action we could ever want from a solo leveling anime.
Yeah.
Sung showed off in more ways than one. His Shadow Soldiers got to participate in their first ever battle, and Igris styled on his opponent like he was Let Me Solo Her fighting against Millennia.
Yeah.
With all those amazing scenes filling up the episode though, it's easy to forget about the overall story behind it.
Okay.
This is something the novel takes its time building up, since it answers questions like, how did this gate become a red gate? Why does Sung feel a personal responsibility to help out Song Yi, and what's going on with everyone else in the story?
Okay.
There's quite a bit the novel adds which build upon the story, and that's exactly what I'm gonna talk about here. Everything
Let's
the anime
go.
left out from the manhwa and web novel. So, if you want to see what else Solo Leveling has to offer beyond its continuous string
First
of conflicts,
question of the day, bro. What's the difference between a manga and a web novel? Like, do they have different content in them? You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all tell me down in the comments, because I don't know this stuff.
stick around because it really does make the world that much more captivating. But first, I'm gonna quickly switch gears over to Overlord because today's sponsor, AFK Arena, is doing a crossover with them.
Alright,
That's
we
right,
skip.
from You Aren't E-Rank, Are You?
There we go.
Covering chapters 46 to 52 from the manhwa and chapters 54 to 62 from the web novel. To start with Sung's preparations for the meeting, there were quite a few things he needed to get done beforehand. He needed to find clothes that actually fit, and he needed to secure money to allow him to buy said clothes.
Okay.
All his previous formal wear now burst at the seams since he was so much bigger. This was a predicament that ended up solving itself because out of the corner of his eye, Sung had spotted the bank book Jinho gave him. Within it was all the money the two had earned from selling the magic crystals they found during their raids together.
Okay, that makes sense.
Sung wasn't sure how much was in it, but he figured he'd be able to go on a shopping spree using it.
Yeah.
It was before he did, though, that first Sung would review his status. He couldn't help but admire just how lengthy it had become.
Wow.
It wasn't until just yesterday
Level
that
51.
quite a few of these slots were empty, though, so now that they were filled, he felt a great sense of pride and accomplishment.
Yo, this is so cool, man.
Before, when the job—
like seeing the deleted scenes and like seeing how, you know, everything happened. I wish they would like include this in the anime, but then again, bro, like you gotta understand them because, bro, they got a lot of shit going on. So listen, this is fire though. Shout out to Annie News. I think that's his channel.
Sung would get frustrated every time he saw it. He knew it didn't actually mean he had no job, but the message he interpreted from it constantly bothered him. It was as if it was making a mockery of who he was before the system. Sung knew this was nothing more than his inferiority complex talking, but it couldn't be helped considering what he'd always had to go through. You see, after years of introducing himself as the E-Rank, the shame he felt knowing people were always mocking him behind his back really stuck with him even now. Now that he had a really cool job class though, Sung was completely and utterly satisfied with himself. No longer was he worried about other people's perception of him.
Bro is
he
cold.
was more so intrigued by how people would react to him now. Like, just thinking about Jinho's stunned face when he would finally get to see his shadow army, that was enough to put a massive smile on his face. It was this thought which led Sung to think about what his new powers were capable of, going so far as to ponder if he could extract shadows from hunters. Obviously, such a
Ah,
situation wasn't one he'd ever want to be in, but the thought of doing so gave him chills. He couldn't even
okay.
fathom how powerful the shadow of an A or S rank hunter could be. Even if it was only 50% of their original strength, Sung
Oh,
fully believed the presence of one would allow him to solo high rank dungeons. So,
okay, okay. Wait, that's interesting. So by turning them into his shadow army, he can only draw out 50% of their strength when he turns them into shadows. Is that the same with Igris or nah? Y'all tell me down in the comments. You know what I'm saying? Is that the same with everything that he turns shadows? Cause he said that about the humans that he can turn into shadows, but you know what I'm saying? Y'all tell me down in the comments. That's interesting.
the only thing preventing him from committing to the idea fully was the thought of how sinister such an act was. Unless a truly
Yeah.
evil hunter showed up to give him trouble, Sung wasn't willing to subject anyone to that. No.
That makes
For now,
sense.
he knew he'd just have to be satisfied with his shadow monsters. The level 7 Night Grade Igris was more than powerful enough.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, in addition to everything Sung had earned from the Job Quest dungeon, he had also gained 10 additional ability points. Before, these would have been put right into agility and perception, but now that his shadow skills operated on mana, every single point
That's
went
fire.
into intelligence instead. It was still miles behind strength than the others, but Sung didn't plan on it being that way for long. That didn't mean he was going to change the way he fought though, since for now these shadow skills would just be his backup. His dagger was always going to remain as his primary means of combat. It was too much of a waste to throw away everything he'd already put into it so far. Still, Sung was amazed at just how useful his shadow skills were, since that single aspect alone, allowing him to extract bosses through it, made it so much more incredibly valuable.
Facts,
So,
bro.
20 minutes would pass with Sung thinking about his powers, then another 3 after where he would use said powers to help himself get ready faster. He didn't know yet how best he was going to use Commander's Touch, but at the
Ruler's
very
Hand
least
is
he could have
crazy.
it help him retrieve his keys from the kitchen. Now,
Commander's
it was on-
Touch. Is that a different... Ruler's Hand is the same thing as Commander's Touch, right? I'm guessing that's like a different name to it. Another question, by the way, that I have is... what was I gonna ask, bro? Damn. I forgot. Hold on. I'll remember. I'll
his
remember.
way to the bank that Sung couldn't even begin to imagine how much money was in this account. Usually, Jinho shared everything with him, but when it came to money, Jinho didn't talk about it at all. It was just one of those things that he couldn't be bothered by.
Yeah.
Such disregard
Oh, I
puts
remembered.
into
Hold up.
perspective just how wealthy Jinho is, because when Sung
Hold up. Before I forget again, the question that I had was, how come some people call Baruka? Like in the anime in episode 2, season 2, he said that his name was Barca, right? But then I see some people spelling it out as Baruka. So let me know that in the comments. You know what I'm saying? Like, is Baruka like what it is in the web novel or in the manga? Or like what?
had gone and checked the balance of the account, it was revealed to have over $1 million in it. In a single week, Sung had earned himself well over $100,000 a day.
Damn.
Each C-rank dungeon had netted him between $150,000 and $200,000 in revenue.
Damn.
The teller would then try to sell
Ballin'.
Sung on the VIP services the bank offered, giving him his first taste of what being a high-ranking hunter felt like.
Okay.
It was something he knew he'd have to get used to because the moment his new rank became public, he would effectively become a celebrity. Another change was the wealth he simply wasn't used to, which after a haircut and some splurging at a department store,
Yeah.
Sung would come to see why having money was way better than not having money.
Yeah.
He would then head
literally.
to the school, reminisce of the time he had these interviews himself, then remember how no one ever showed up for them. It
Damn,
wasn't because
that's
his
crazy.
parents were neglectful though, but rather because he simply didn't tell them. Since this was back when his mother was visiting the hospital more frequently,
Yeah.
Sung didn't want to burden her with something so trivial. Now,
Aw.
the interview went pretty much as we saw, finishing up with the request to help Jinna's friend Song Yi. As soon as Sung heard that she was in E rank, he immediately knew it wouldn't be long before she was either dead or crippled. Such was
Literally,
the fate
bro.
for those ranked at the bottom. The dungeon was simply no place for an E rank. Normally, Sung wouldn't have cared at all, but because she was a person he was somewhat acquainted with, he felt a certain responsibility to teach her why the dungeon wasn't for her.
Ah,
When
okay.
Sung had gone to pick her up to take her to the raid, that's when he saw her circumstances weren't very different from his own. She
Aw.
lived in a place that indicated she wasn't very well off, and that made it clear that she was likely just trying to provide for herself. This was a reason Sung knew he couldn't judge her for, since he too did the exact same thing.
Literally?
He had put
Okay.
himself in harm's way just to provide for his family.
Good guy
So,
Jinwoo,
as
man.
much as Sung wanted to stop being a hunter back then, he knew he couldn't because his mother's life depended on it. Sung's
Wow.
circumstances may not be exactly the same, but she could have her own reasons as to why she needs to keep being a hunter.
Exactly.
Either way, Sung was going to show
Damn.
her exactly what awaited her in the dungeon. He framed it as him simply trying to mold her into a better hunter, but in actuality was bringing her just so that she could see the cruel reality of it all. One terrifying
that makes
instance
sense.
was more than enough to show the truth. At least that's
Yup.
how it was for him.
He got lucky,
Now,
bro.
it was in between all this that Jinho had his own massive scene, one that highlighted the dynamic between him, his brother, his father, and even his cousin.
Oh, damn.
The whole
Okay.
event was an ancestral rites ceremony for his grandfather, something Jinho wasn't particularly interested in. He was tucked away in a corner, bored out of his mind, paying no attention to any of the elites currently present.
That's
This
crazy.
was meant to serve as a contrast to Jinho's brother, who the novel paints as one of the most exceptional people there. With perfect grades and numerous successful
Okay.
business ventures, he was the cream of the crop while Jinho just couldn't compare. Luckily,
I mean, he's
Jinho's
way
cousin
too young,
Suyeon
bro.
was there to lighten the mood, making fun of his brother and his stuck-up attitude. The
Haha.
lighthearted insults weren't something Jinho could get behind though, since if he wanted to get back at his brother, he knew he simply had to beat him. That
Facts.
brought into conversation the topic of his plan to become a guildmaster, something Suyeon apparently already knew about. The reason why that is because as an A-rank hunter herself, she really
Oh.
didn't want to work for Jinho's brother. It was only natural she become a member of whatever guild the head of the family was forming, but to do so under Jin Sung's leadership,
Wow.
well, let's just say she'd rather die. I won't get too
Okay.
deep into what else the two discussed, but just know that this is where her character is actually debuted. For the anime, it's likely we'll see
Fire.
her later. Now, there was also a scene where Jinho's dad would reveal his own impressions, highlighting the harsh tutelage under which Jinho and his siblings were brought up under. It could essentially be described as a tiger wanting to raise cubs instead of kittens. Jinho's brother and sister were the cubs, while he unfortunately was seen as the kitten.
Well, yeah.
This brings us now to
Yeah.
yet another massive cutscene, one depicting how the Red Gate had become a Red Gate. Long story short, it was pretty much due to professional incompetence. A gate measuring
Makes sense,
device
okay.
was found to be acting up, but rather than report and rescind the permits for the 7 gates it recently measured like how the employees who found the device were supposed to, they instead decided to simply ignore it. The potential trouble it could cause made them feel like they could lose their job over it. Some of those
Okay.
troubles included the additional resources the association would have to spend remeasuring the gates, while the guilds who bought them would get upset that they couldn't do their raids anymore. Plus, with the additional delay increasing the chances of a dungeon break, all were potential issues that made losing their job seem more and more likely. So, for a job like this where getting in was as hard as passing the bar, just the thought of losing it was enough to make these employees disregard the error. They were well aware the consequences could easily cost the lives of the hunters going into these gates, but since nothing was reported in the 2 days since the 7 gates were measured, they figured the remaining 4 left to be completed should be fine as well. That's
Wow.
why the Red Gate was improperly rated. The initial reading was placed at C, but the faulty nature of the measuring device made such a reading inaccurate. It was more likely this gate was at the B or A rank. The fact a Red Gate spawned was enough to prove it. It was impossible for Red Gates to spawn from anything lower than the B rank. That's why Beck was so mad
Makes
when he got
sense.
here, because the whole thing was a mistake that easily could have been avoided. I mean, even after the gate turned red and the guild called the association, the
Yeah.
association still denied that any mistakes were made. They stuck with the
What?
conclusion that it was a C rank gate, despite Beck knowing himself that it was higher. So the whole thing just didn't make sense to him. In any case,
Okay.
the last scene left out from the novel was a small side part showing the home life of An. He was living his bachelor life watching the news, listening to reports of an unexplained explosion within the American Hunters Association headquarters. There were rumors that the cause was due to a new rising talent causing friction among the S-ranked hunters.
This
It was
guy.
before An could hear more
Hwang.
about it, though, that Sung would call and make his request. An believed this to be Sung showing interest in the White Tiger Guild, so it was only natural he say yes to whatever Sung was asking him for. If anything, this was a great way to show just how exceptional the guild's training system was. That brings us to when the Red Gate incident begins, but rather than talk about that and stop halfway through, I'll instead do all of it in the next video. To finish things up, I just want to talk about some extra scenes with Hwang Dong-soo.
Okay.
So, when him and Woo were in the airport, Hwang had actually tried to recruit Woo to the Scavenger Guild. This was an invitation Woo would never accept because both him and the association knew just how terrible both Hwang Dong-soo and his brother were.
Damn.
I mean, it was obvious what Dong-suk was doing in the dungeons, but the association could never investigate because Dong-soo was his brother. That being the case,
makes sense.
Woo really didn't like how either of them never showed guilt for committing the murders he knew they were responsible for. Now, the other scene involved Woo asking Dong-soo if he wanted to see his brother, but surprisingly Dong-soo said he didn't care for the dead.
That's
he was a bit curious about what happened for the funeral, but as of right now, his only concern was the trash his brother left behind. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. It's everything you missed from the events leading up to the Red Gate.
That's fire, bro. That's actually fire. I still can't believe Jin Woo's dad packed him up like that, bro. I hope we get to see the fight in the next episode, bro. Otherwise, I'm finna throw a fit if we have to see some deleted scenes from that. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully not. But it's gonna be very, very interesting. This was a very informative video. You know what I'm saying? Telling us what happened before the Red Gate. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Definitely some interesting stuff. We gonna have to keep seeing these types of things for Solo Leveling because I'm pretty sure they're gonna leave out some stuff every single episode. So let me know if y'all want more of this. This is definitely interesting. Thank you guys so much for all your support, KZ fam. I love y'all, bro. I love y'all. I'm finna get some posters up there because we can't just have an empty wall right there. You know what I'm saying? We gotta have my boy Zoro up there or Goku or someone. You know what I'm saying? Simple. Stay positive, stay healthy, and most definitely keep that strong mentality, man. Out.